I've seen social media for realtors emerge from cutting edge to commonplace, and with over 10 years in the business now, having coached with Mike Ferry for years, and also have been alongside Mike Sherrard and his growth at EXP for years, I've found what many of the real estate gurus forget to teach you regarding social media for business. Towards the end of the video, I'll give you an easy solution that anyone and everyone can easily apply to their business. Send me a message on Instagram or send me an email and I'll give you my social media blueprint, which is a blended approach taking both into consideration. My information's in the description below. So Mike Ferry's approach to real estate is all based around his sales system, which is prospecting, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, listing presentations, handling objections, closing the sale, managing the transaction, client and or customer service, time management, and self-improvement and training. Mike Ferry is often labeled as Mr. Cold Calling. And although yes, he does encourage people to pick up the phone and make calls, it's only one of many strategies that he implements and that he suggests that a real estate agent can do. Mike Ferry also does in fact use social media himself for business. Now, he's only recently started to become active on Instagram and already has close to 40,000 followers. He now has close to 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it always has been, for as far as I've ever seen it, YouTube has been a strong part of his real estate coaching business for a long time. Now, one of the questions might be, do as I say, not as I do, from Mr. Mike Ferry? What I will say, having practiced Mike Ferry's strategies to a T, what you will sometimes find is that they can be very labor intensive. They can be geographically confining if you're looking to expand outside of your local market. And they can sometimes be intrusive or perceived as such if they're not done properly. Mike Sherrard's approach is all about building an online presence, content creation, audience engagement, video marketing, personal branding, networking and collaboration on social media, using social media analytics, paid advertising, and continuous learning and adaptation. Now, yes, Mike Sherrard is an extremely smart individual, but do you need to be an engineer to follow in his footsteps? Just a thought. Comparing the two approaches, which of those two approaches is more duplicatable and or more likely for an agent to be able to easily follow through with and succeed? That's what's up for debate. And the funny thing is, if you dig a little bit deeper into Mike Sherrard's original strategy when he was out selling houses the same as rest of us, he did implement a strong door knocking strategy to his daily schedule. And at the end of the day, are we losing that personal touch and that belly to belly sales with all of the high-tech strategies that we see out there today? Mike Ferry teaches that there are 11 ways to generate business as a real estate agent, 10 of them being totally 100% free, being past clients, centers of influence, networking and adding people to your sphere of influence, for sale by owners, expired listings, sign calls, agent referrals, open houses, floor time, or what I now call office leads. And then at the bottom of the list, you've got just listed and just sold, cold phones and or cold doors. And those are listed in order of highest priority to lowest priority. So surprisingly enough, cold calling is actually at the bottom of the list, but it is an infinite list that you will never run out of people to talk to ever. And then at the bottom of the list is advertising. The only reason it's there is because it costs you money to do, and you have to very conservatively track your return on investment to see what type of results you're getting from that activity. And social media does partially fall into that category if you're paying for business through advertising. The challenge, however, isn't simply social media versus making cold calls. The challenge and the solution at the same time is a matter of time management, prioritization, tracking your results, leveraging tech tools to follow the fundamentals in order to get the best chance for results today. Because the large majority of what Mike Ferry teaches, even though he might not present it this way, is all based on principles. And no matter what's happening with new strategies in the industry, principles are something that are universal over time no matter what. For example, Mike Ferry is all about preaching scripts and dialogues. Mike Sherrard is all about talking about video marketing. But guess what? You can't really get good at video unless you get good at scripts and dialogues and speaking. It's really an art and something you need to practice to become good at. And on the flip side too, if you're going to go on a listing presentation and somebody has seen you present yourself on video many times or several times before you get on the appointment, the chances of you getting that listing are substantially higher, just the same as if somebody has already met you several times, if they already know you, if there's already a pre-existing relationship, the same effect takes place. So now somebody who doesn't know you has the ability to get to know you very, very, very quickly through video on social media if you do follow some of these principles and strategies. Social media, however, is a slippery slope because most people do tend to fall into the consumer category versus the producer category. It's a double-edged sword. It can be the most productive tool that we have access to now, but it can also be the biggest distraction and the biggest time waster that we have at our fingertips now today as well. And if time management is your biggest concern, that can also be your biggest enemy if social media and the newsfeed and TikTok end up consuming most of your productive activity time. Content creation is, yes, a lead generation activity, but it doesn't replace prospecting, especially not in the beginning and or until you've got a perfectly optimized evergreen sales funnel, which is probably only a small percentage of people in business and specifically for sure people in real estate. And are you tripping over dollars in order to go after dimes? I see this happen all the time. I'm looking to get XYZ number of Instagram followers, but wait a minute. If you follow the principles and strategies and you know that if you keep in touch with 200 people as an example, you should be able to do 20 deals from that file, which is the 10% rule in terms of keeping in touch with your spheres of influence, your center of influence. And if you utilize social media as one of the many tools in order to do that, and you spend the majority of your time on social media in the direct messages, which is prospecting, versus consuming what's going on in the news feed, and or if you are consuming what's going on in the newsfeed, making sure that you are at least engaging and commenting on what you see and or reaching out by message in order to engage with the people you see in the newsfeed. Because when you do these specific types of activities, it takes what would normally be a consumer-based activity like watching a commercial on TV into an actual productive activity similar to making phone calls and prospecting. Mike Ferry's coaching business is, however, built upon the basis that the solo agent with maybe one staff person and or one or two buyer's agents, essentially the top producing solo agent more or less, that philosophy, that mindset is what the Mike Ferry sales system and his approach is originally based on. And it only makes sense because he needs to find people that can afford to pay for coaching. And if you're looking at scaling a real estate team in the beginning, you do have substantially more expenses, which could potentially cut into what you would otherwise spend or pay for coaching when you're looking to scale your business upwards. Mike Sherrard, however, is scaling up real estate brokerage in essence, and he's looking for unique partners specifically who do fit in nicely with the niche that he's found, which is social media for real estate agents, because I would only assume that his ideal partner would be somebody who follows along the same modalities and mindsets that he does, which is going to be a huge catalyst and a proponent to increasing the overall organization that he's building and growing at EXP, which only makes sense. However, is only a smaller percentage of the general base of real estate agents that are out there, which is the reason why my approach to social media is one that takes both into consideration and is the fastest, quickest, easiest way that, like I said, anybody can do. And yes, social media isn't necessarily for everybody, and not everybody is active on social media, but if you still have decades and decades to spend in this industry and you aren't going to be onboarding your business to what's happening with artificial intelligence today and with social media, it's plain and simple that you will get left behind. And if you overinvest your time in activities strategies that are all based on the long game without going after the low-hanging fruit in the meantime in order to feed your business, in order to fuel your business, you'll also get hung up before you get any momentum rolling in this business. So send me a message, send me an email. I'll be happy to give you my specific blueprint for how I approach social media based on a blend of both of these strategies. And of course, thanks for being here today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on this video next. Have a great day.